Have you ever stopped to ponder the significance of Veterans Day? It's more than just a date on the calendar. It's a time to honour those who've served in our nation's armed forces. It's a day that holds a deep and profound history, intertwined with the echoes of World War I. It's a day intertwined with global observances like Armistice Day and Remembrance Day. But what's the story behind it all? Today, we embark on a journey to delve into the roots of this important day. The story of Veterans Day begins in the aftermath of a great world conflict. In the early 20th century, the world was embroiled in a conflict unlike any it had ever seen. This was World War I, a war so colossal, so devastating, that it earned the moniker the Great War. It was a time of unprecedented devastation, which saw millions of lives lost and entire cities brought to ruin. Then, on the 11th day of the 11th month, in the year 1918, an armistice was signed, bringing an end to the hostilities. This moment, marked at the 11th hour, became a symbol of the world's yearning for peace after the horrors of war. It was on this day, November 11th, that the first seeds of what we now know as Veterans Day were sown. At first, this day was known as Armistice Day, a day dedicated to the memory of the fallen and the hope for a peaceful future. The scars of the war were still fresh, its impact immeasurable. The world had seen the true cost of war, and there was a global desire, a fervour even, to honour the heroes who had paid that cost. Armistice Day was initially a day of mourning, a day to remember the brave who had fallen. But as time went on, the focus began to shift. The world began to understand the need to not only mourn the fallen, but also to honour the living, the veterans who had served and survived. And so, Armistice Day evolved. It became a day to honour all veterans, not just those who had fallen in the Great War. It was a recognition of the sacrifice and service of all military veterans, a day to say thank you to those brave men and women who had served their country. The echoes of the guns had barely faded when the world began to honour its heroes. And so it continues today, every November 11th, as we remember and honour those who have served in the United States Armed Forces. As the world changed, so did the way we honour our veterans. In the beginning, this day was known as Armistice Day, a day of remembrance for the end of World War I. On the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month in 1918, the guns fell silent, marking the end of the Great War. This day was dedicated to the cause of world peace and honoured the veterans of World War I. However, as the 20th century progressed, the United States found itself embroiled in other significant conflicts, such as World War II and the Korean War. These wars produced a new generation of veterans who had served their nation with distinction. It became increasingly clear that Armistice Day was not broad enough to adequately honour these new veterans. In response to this, a Kansas shoe store owner named Alvin King proposed the idea of expanding Armistice Day to honour all veterans, not just those who served in World War I. King's proposal gained traction, and in 1954, President Dwight D. Eisenhower officially renamed Armistice Day to Veterans Day. This change reflected the expanding role of the military and the growing number of veterans who had served in these subsequent wars. Since then, Veterans Day has evolved to honour all individuals who have served in the United States Armed Forces. It's a day of deep gratitude, a day to express our sincere appreciation for the sacrifices these brave men and women have made. It's a day to say thank you, not just to those who served in the world wars, but also to those who have served in conflicts across the globe, from Vietnam to Afghanistan, from the Gulf War to the ongoing operations against terrorism. The evolution of Veterans Day from Armistice Day represents our evolving understanding of what it means to be a veteran. It's not just about service in a single conflict, but about the commitment to serve one's country, no matter the cost. As the definition of a veteran grew, so did our appreciation for their service. Today, Veterans Day